I love lost media. It's incredibly fascinating to me. Not being able to find something adds so much of a mystique to the most random pictures, songs, and even commercials that it never fails to amaze me. Because I completely fall for it every time. If someone said, hey, there's this local Filipino flower shop commercial I can't find, someone help me find it, I'm all ears about something I never would have thought about in my life. That's a real example, by the way. Lost media is pretty big right now because of the discovery of maybe the most coveted song in the Lost Wave scene, and it was found in the most hilarious way possible. I'm not gonna rehash the whole story, there's plenty of videos about it. I'll just say that someone really did everything in his power to keep us from knowing that he was watching an 80s and now, well, now everyone knows that. It's the dumbest joke I've ever made. But there's something about having your own foggy memories that's even more special than hearing someone else's. And today I wanted to mention some of mine. Other people's pieces of lost media that I swear I've seen, personal searches that I actually resolved, and one new search that I'd like to get out there. I initially heard about this one in a Kylie Bogley video, but I swear I know it too. This is supposedly a rendition of On Top of Spaghetti played as a bumper on a kid's channel. It was CGI and had that really early, uncanny quality that a lot of that stuff had, with a rudimentary bowl of 3D rendered spaghetti dancing around on a table, in some kind of black void with a checkered floor. I was so convinced that I'd seen this that I was going to pitch in my own experience of not having cable most of the time growing up, so it likely was on something like PBS Kids or Noggin. But apparently someone else said the same thing before me, which makes me even more convinced that we're both right. This is an odd one, mainly because of the number of people who remember extremely similar details, combined with how little information there is about it. This initially might make it seem less likely to be real, but to me, it doesn't seem far-fetched that something like this could slip through the cracks. Is that a pun? Does that count as a lost media pun? Shows and movies usually have documentation somewhere, even obscure ones. Projects of that size have a lot more people working on them, but for something as small as a bumper or a small-scale commercial, there's a lot fewer people who can act as leads, and the content itself is considered a lot more disposable. Even if it wasn't actively disposed of, it would make sense if it was buried online or even not transferred at all. It's kind of a unique situation where I'm not really sure where you would even start looking for it. I guess searching VHS tapes would be the best place to start. I don't know, but this is one I really want to find, even if it's really trivial and silly. There have also been times where I remembered a movie scene or a song from my childhood and managed to find it later myself. There was this one scene I remember seeing in a hotel when I was little. We were just like flicking through channels, and we landed on this one scene of several men and a child in a bare room only lit by candlelight. It looked like a period piece of some kind, but it honestly could have been anywhere from medieval to the Depression. They seemed to be having a very serious conversation and notably started spelling out some of the words they were using. I tried to put them together, but it seemed to be some kind of nonsense spelling. Either that or I was just young and dumb and couldn't keep up. But if anyone else thought that sounded familiar, or you already knew about it, it turns out that's from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Mrs. Hogwallop up in RUNNOFT.
But there was another one. Not a scene from a movie. It was a song from some kind of compilations. We had a lot of those. Long put together compilations of music videos or songs. Did anyone else have those? There's like For the Kids and For the Kids 2. There's this one called A Treasure in My Garden that I might talk about later. But I remember a video and song from something like that. And it was about a girl who didn't pick up her toys. And one night her toys got tired of it and rose up and rebelled and attacked her. I remember dolls, a toy horse, what almost looked like a stick figure made out of blocks. It looked like old CG, almost like Pixar's really early Glass Knight, if that even makes sense. So the toys attack her, and I remember she woke up screaming, realizing it was a dream. And then she picks up all her stuff and puts it away. I think her name might have been Betty. I remember the short really scaring me when I was little, so I really wanted to find it. So like I said, I had a ton of compilation DVDs like this, but to start, I thought it might have been Baby Songs, a series of shorts and songs made by Hap Palmer, which I think Kylie also mentioned in that same video I talked about before. And it turns out most of them are online now, so it will be the easiest to start searching for. So I just started watching through Baby Songs one night. I'm sure that didn't make me look like a psychopath, but I got tired of it pretty quickly, so I just started skimming thumbnails, and I saw this one. Okay.
Amanda slept, would not pick her toys up. She left everything where it lay. She played all day and never found time to put anything away.
Yup, this is it. I found it. So a few things. I could still see why I found this creepy as a kid. It's a little, I don't know, is eerie the right word? The descriptions sound like a hoarder house.
Her mirror was cracked from the crush of the clutter and hadn't been seen for a year. Her hairbrush was bent and the bristles were jammed in the teeth of her bicycle gear.
It's weirdly harsh for just a kid's messy room.
And flies crawled around on her pink paper plates with cake crumbs and old mud pie stew.
And she just seems to be living alone, I guess? It's completely devoid of other humans. It's just kind of a weird environment.
Then one night Amanda dreamed that her panda cried, "I can't stand anymore." When the toys heard him yell, "Rise up and rebel," they broke down the bedroom door.
Oh Jesus, oh God, oh no. And this is the first place I was actually wrong. They weren't attacking her, they were running away. But in my defense, the phrase "rise up and rebel" threw me off a little bit, especially when he said they broke down the door. I definitely thought they were coming in, not going out. I'm not gonna fault myself too much for that, it makes sense. I did get the scream right though.
Amanda slept, screamed and woke up.
It was pretty much exactly how I remembered it. But then there's also the matter of the block creature I mentioned. That was, like, non-negotiable in my head, but it's not there at all. Most of the other toys I remembered were, but that part wasn't. I also thought her name was Betty, and it's not, and they mention her name a lot. I'm not sure how I didn't remember that part. But I bring these things up because I definitely found what I was looking for. This is it. But I still got several things very wrong. And I think it's good to remember when searching for lost media that you really do have to consider all leads. One early searcher remembered Clockman doing an Irish river dance. That's very specific and nowhere remotely in the real short. Memory is extremely weird, so you have to be kind of flexible when you're searching for unidentified stuff like this. Alright, so here's where I want to bring up a dark, unsolved piece of lost media from my own childhood, one that I haven't found yet. And it wasn't a song or video this time, it's actually a graphic novel. And this is also where I'm going to give the content warning for suicide. This would have been about the mid to late 2000s when I was really getting into weird graphic novels and comic books. It was a classic type of noir story about a retired cop or detective pulled into one last case. You know the drill. But the unique hook was that he kept a little knickknack with him that he talked to organize his thoughts, and either it would talk back or he just imagined it talking back. I don't know if it was supernatural or if it was just sort of a rubber duck technique to get his thoughts in order. I want to say it was the latter, but I'm not entirely sure. Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly what the object was. I think it was something like a playing card or a matchbox or an old lighter, something small and square like that. Even more unfortunately, I don't remember any details about the actual case or the plot that was going on. I know there was both corruption and murder and a woman he was trying to help who I think turned on him at some point, but those are all so bog standard for noir stories that I might be wrong, and even if I'm right, it doesn't really narrow it down that much. Though what I do remember is that the resolution to the case was so depressing it killed the last bit of hope that the main character had, and the story ended with him taking his own life. The final page was a full-page spread of him on a bed with his arms over his chest, dead. I think he overdosed on pills, and I think the bottle was on the side table. The matchbox / lighter / playing card was sitting there with it. There was no text. The art itself was black and white, and more softly blended, like charcoal, pastel, or graphite. I don't think it was ink or hatching. I think there were also certain elements that were red to highlight them, like the matchbox itself, a red dress, or blood, obviously. I also remember the title being strange, though take this with a grain of salt. It was one word and I think started with a V. I initially thought that it was a name, like Valerie, but I tried a couple names that I could think of and that didn't turn up any Google results, and I can't remember if that tied into the story at all. It might not have been a name, it might have been something like Valor, but that didn't turn up anything either. Though if somehow this search catches on in any capacity, I'll probably just call it Valor for now. I don't expect it to, but let's just say. So that's all I got for you, the found and the unidentified bits of media from my brain I like to pull out and inspect every now and again. I hope you enjoyed, and especially if you have any thoughts about what the graphic novel might be, or any leads you would start with, or any places to look even, leave them down in the comments. I would love to start a discussion about this. I'll see you guys next time.